Hello, everyone, and welcome to another podcast where I will talk about matters to do with mental health. For our new listeners and followers, welcome. Now, the purpose of our monthly podcast is to inform, empower, and even educate the public on matters to do with mental health. Basically, we will be mentally speaking. Now, today I'm going to ask a question and answer it as well that will help demystify counseling or therapy, as it's also referred to. Now, the question is, what is counseling really all about? Unfortunately, misconceptions about therapy often discourage people from seeking help and often also contribute to the stigma surrounding mental health issues. Already, mental health itself is associated with a stigma. This has been a contributing factor to preventing people from learning more about or even utilizing the services of trained mental health professionals. Now, according to Mweni Masimbia, who did a research in 2014 entitled Embracing Counseling and Psychotherapy in Kenya. Now, she says this: most Kenyans would frown on the notion of approaching a stranger to talk about personal issues. Their approach to addressing individual and family problems has always been to seek assistance from a respected relative, a village elder, or a pastor, and even in very extreme cases, a family would seek the intervention of a traditional healer. Now, it is very clear, and we all know, that talking to a stranger about our personal, scary, painful thoughts and feelings can be very, very frightening for a number of reasons. Also, misguided notions about what really goes on in counseling or therapy, often coming from a lack of information or knowledge, has led to many misconceptions about what counseling really is. I'll touch a bit on some of the misconceptions. Now, one of them is that counseling is only for weak or even crazy people. So if I'm not weak and I'm not crazy, why would I need counseling? Another one is counseling is only for major issues, like something really traumatic happening to us, and that is why and when we will need counseling. Another misconception is counseling does not help and will only worsen the situation. The other one is the counselor does not know me, so how will they be able to help me? If they don't know me, they don't know my background, how can they relate to what I'm going through? And the final one we look at is all counselors are the same. Meaning, if you didn't have a success with the first one that you went to, it means that whoever else you try will not work. So it's therefore important, now more than ever actually, for the public to know and be aware of what counseling is. We will briefly look at what it is and what it entails. Now, please understand and appreciate this, that when it comes to seeking professional help for our mental health, many of us have absolutely no idea what to expect. The truth is that counseling has the ability to help almost anyone with mental health concerns, social issues, personal issues, or even personal development. But again, another truth is that every person is unique. What do I mean by this? I mean that every individual will respond to and experience counseling differently. So a method that works for one person is not going to necessarily work for you or for the next person. So what I'm saying is counseling is a very, very subjective experience. Now, in my experience as a counseling psychologist, I've come to appreciate that whenever I'm consulting with clients who are considering whether or not to pursue counseling, I have come to the realization that the path to this decision that they make is actually as diverse as the people who are seeking help. Therefore, when we look at, let's say, counseling techniques, they were developed in the Western world. And this may not necessarily be appropriate within the African concept. Why is this? Because let's say things like cultural influences, availability of resources, can have significant implications on how service is delivered and the mode of delivery. Now, why is cultural sensitivity important when it comes to counseling, and especially in the African concept? It is important for the counseling relationship to be established. The counselor has to be aware of the diversity in culture, in religion, in sexual orientation, and even in socioeconomic status. Ethnicity also plays a big role when it comes to being culturally sensitive. And this again is within the African concept in counseling. We have to look for what is tailored and friendly for us. We take what we can from the Western concept and integrate with what we can to make our clients feel comfortable and feel seen and feel heard. I will now very briefly touch on the counseling process so that you are better able to understand, for those who have never been for a counseling session before, what it entails. The counseling process is often successful when the client is willing to work together with the counselor. By this I mean the client needs to be honest, the client needs to be open to discuss about their issues within the safe, secure, and even non-judgmental space provided by the counselor. It is actually the client's responsibility to make a conscious decision if they want to change their life and make better and informed choices or even resolutions. Please note that as a counselor, I cannot force or give advice to you as the client, except in any situation that may harm the client or others. By this I mean, should you as the client disclose to me during a session that you're thinking of committing suicide, or you're thinking of hurting somebody else, or you know somebody who's in danger, and by somebody I mean children below the age of 18 or elderly people. In this sort of scenario, as the therapist, I will have to inform somebody else, or I have to give you advice on the way forward. It is common to feel uneasy when talking about your personal issues to anyone, let alone to a counselor who at that particular time is a total stranger. However, I want to encourage you that it takes time, and the uneasiness, the feeling of uneasiness will slowly fade away once you are familiar and comfortable with the counseling process and the counselor. Only then can the healing process finally begin. As I conclude this podcast, I leave you with this insightful quote by a very famous psychologist by the name of Carl Rogers. And the quote goes like this: "Am I living in a way which is deeply satisfying to me and which truly expresses me?" Now, should you or anyone you know or feel that you need professional help to cope with life's challenges, please feel free to get in touch with us through our website or social media platforms listed below the link. And also, please take your time, make a point to comment and subscribe to our upcoming monthly podcast, again under the title of Mentally Speaking Podcasts. Until next time, stay safe and take care.